Item number 22, members, Assembly Bill 914. Good afternoon, and please, I should say almost good evening. Please proceed, Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee members. My office has worked with the Transportation Committee staff, and I would like to accept as author's amendments the suggested language to recast the bill to reflect a value pricing program and remove Section 2 dealing with the vehicle code. AB 914 would grant the San Bernardino Associated Governments, SANBAG, authority to implement an express lane program in the county on the I-10 and the I-15 corridors. Express lane facilities are increasingly being studied as regional transportation agencies throughout California, and we're trying to struggle to reach those traffic demands with limited budgets. Funding California's aging highways has become a struggle for the state. This bill mandates that all money collected in the I-1, I-10, and I-15 corridors can only be spent to service these two corridors. This ensures that commuters from the Inland Empire will be the direct beneficiaries. I have with me Mr. Ray Wolf and Mr. Dennis Michael.
Dennis Michael, Mayor for the City of Rancho Cucamonga and President of the San Bernardino Associated Governments. We urge and respectfully ask for your aye vote. This is a very important bill for the Inland Empire. As you know, many goods travel through our area headed to all parts of the nation. So to keep it brief, since you have a lot of work yet to do, that concludes my comments.
I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Next witness, please.
Mr. Chair, Ray Wolf of the San Bernardino Associated Governments. I'm here to answer any questions if there are any, but other than that, I urge your support. Thank you.
Any other witnesses in support?
Mr. Chairman, members, my name is Mark Watts, representing the Riverside County Transportation Commission in support of this measure. I urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Next witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Andrew Antwi with Shaw Yoder Antwi here today on behalf of the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority. We support this measure.
Mr. Chair, Tim Egan, representing Southern California Association of Governments, in strong support.
Thank you. Next witness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keith Dunn on behalf of the Self-Help Counties Coalition. This policy is consistent with our policies developed on tolling as well as the chairman's bill dealing with this issue, and we support this measure.
Thank you. Next witness.
Greg Herner on behalf of the California Asphalt Pavement Association in support.
Thank you. Any members of the public in opposition of the author's bill? Please state your name and who you represent and that you oppose.
My name is Raul Rodriguez, and can I read a statement?
You have...
I have a statement from...
you have 2 minutes.
Okay. My name is Raul Rodriguez, Jr. I am a representative of the Toll-Free IE. We are a grassroots organization with close to 600 members. As the community gains awareness through our intense effort, Toll-Free IE will continue to grow. Leading up to the 2016 election, I would urge you and suspend all deliberations regarding AB 914 SANBAG. The agency promoting these toll lanes is engaging in illegal activities that are all documented in videos. A total of 4 claims have been filed with SANBAG detailing the various violations. SANBAG needs to be investigated as they are perpetrating fraud against the taxpayers of San Bernardino County. These toll lanes will cost billions of dollars. This project will not generate revenue for decades. The citizens of San Bernardino County should not be subjected to this debt enslavement. Michael Tahan, the mayor pro tem of Fontana, who sits on the SANBAG, spoke on the record of this Fontana City Council meeting, April 14, 2015, about this opposition to the toll lanes subject and the facts that the project is not financially sound and will not even generate revenue for decades. So the argument that we must do this to fix our roads is a false narrative. toll lanes will
Sir,
not...
can I get you to wind it down in one sentence or less?
Yes. Toll lanes will not create debt. Tolls will create debt. Toll lanes create more traffic. Toll-free opposes AB 914. Thank you, and I do have copies for each member.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please state your name, who you represent, and you do have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you for allowing the 2 minutes. I will not consume that amount of time. I realize that you've been here a long time and have difficult issues to address. I'm opposed to and therefore urge a no vote on AB 914. I live in Redlands and own property in Riverside County as well. A no vote on AB 914. Bless you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in opposition of the bill? So, any questions of the author from anybody in the committee? Seeing none, Ms. Brown, would you like to close?
Yes, as our roads are aging and as we have no way of paying for the repairs on the roads, this will not cost the taxpayers. It will cost those who use the road. And I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brown. I'm just going to do a little catch-up. Who was the first and the second on this bill? Because Mr. Dodd was first, Mr. Linder was second. Thank you for that clarification. Ms. Brown, thank you for working with my staff on amendments to ensure your bill follows the model set forth by previous legislation. And I really believe value pricing programs can be a good tool, and I support your bill. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a do pass. As amended to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier. Aye. Frazier, aye. Ashajian. Aye. Ashajian, aye. Baker. Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom. Aye. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Aye. Santiago, aye. Chu. Aye. Chu, aye. Daly. Dodd. Aye. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Aye. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Linder. Aye. Linder, aye. Medina. Medina, aye. Melendez. Melendez, aye. Nazarian. O'Donnell.
Ms. Brown, that bill is 11-0. It's out. We'll leave the roll open for absent members. Thank you so much. Who's up?
Mr. Chu.
Mr. Chu? Does he have two?
Yeah, he does.
So item number 2, Mr. Chu and members. Excuse me.
File item 26.
File item 26. Thank you. We got to get the spelling correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues, for your indulgence. I do have 3 items today, and several of my witnesses are trying to catch a train. Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, is it okay if we go to AB 1287, or do you want to start with the electric bikes item, which is item 2?
So we have file item number 26. We'll start off with that.
AB 1287.
Oh.
Which is on the toll program.
So we'll move at the author's request to number 35, members, Assembly Bill 1287.
Great. I appreciate your indulgence. Colleagues, thank you for your patience on what I know is a long day, and I want to thank our witnesses also for their patience as well. I appreciate your consideration of AB 1287, which is a district bill to reauthorize and improve San Francisco's toll program, which stands for the Transit-Only Lane Enforcement, to improve our San Francisco transit system and protect pedestrian safety. And at the outset, I want to thank you, colleagues. I do want to accept the 3 amendments suggested by this committee and thank the committee staff for their work. Very briefly, toll was first authorized by our legislature here in 2007 by Assemblywoman Fiona Ma, and then reauthorized by our legislature in 2011, supported by both the current and previous governors. It provides for video enforcement against double parking in transit-only lanes, which discourages vehicles from obstructing these lanes, and this program has been critical to improving safety, reliability, and reducing congestion. Our city has the densest neighborhoods on the West Coast, some of the most congested roads in California, and in recent years, we've had a record high rate of hundreds of tragic and avoidable deaths and serious injuries on our streets, and our city has focused on efforts to make our streets safer. Toll will assist with promoting the safety by using existing technology to enforce existing laws to improve the system we have in place. I have our bill sponsor and several supporters to testify. First, I'd like to recognize the head of the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, Ed Riskin.
So I'll remind the witnesses 2 minutes, 3 witnesses 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ed Riskin. I'm the Director of Transportation in the City and County of San Francisco. The toll program we found to be extremely effective in helping us reduce transit delays to the extent that you have authorized us to use it in San Francisco since 2007. The technology that the toll program provides, we have on more than 800 buses now, our entire rubber tire fleet in the city, and it's been very effective, and it is for that reason that we are respectfully asking your support of AB 1287 to allow us to continue and expand the program in very strategic and focused ways so that the benefits that we've seen on our rapid network, which is where we're currently authorized to use these cameras, we can bring to the rest of the city. We do have a significant amount of growth that's coming to our city. This tool will allow us to both improve the reliability of transit, but as importantly, improve the safety of our streets, particularly with regard to the ability to be able to use this to enforce blocked intersections and crosswalks, which is a phenomenon we've seen considerably in our city that causes a lot of behaviors that put pedestrians, motorists, and bicyclists in danger. So with your authorization, we will be able to reduce the incidence of blocking the box, which we've piloted with enforcement throughout the city. This bill would enable us to sustain that enforcement to improve safety and reliability of mobility in our city. So thank you for the opportunity. We respectfully request your support for this bill.
Next witness, please.
Mr. Chair, members, Joshua Shaw for the City and County of San Francisco's Mayor Edwin Lee, pleased to be a co-sponsor with the Municipal Transportation Agency of this bill in furtherance of our Vision Zero policy adopted citywide with a goal of eliminating all traffic-related fatalities by 2024. This is a vital component. Urge your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Ferrara, and I'm the Executive Director of Walk San Francisco. And in San Francisco, we have 3 people hit by cars every single day on our streets. Most of these collisions, 40%, are failure to yield to pedestrians and crosswalks. The toll enforcement strategy will help reduce those collisions and make our streets safer. When people block the box, people can't walk through crosswalks. That is where we see those failure to yield to pedestrian collisions happening. They're not only preventable, but they're also, by using toll, we can actually help protect our most vulnerable citizens. Most of the people hit and killed are seniors. Over 50% of our traffic deaths are seniors. People in wheelchairs and children are specifically vulnerable to block the box violations because they can't be seen in front of the hood of cars as well as a taller adult. So we urge your support. Achieving Vision Zero in San Francisco and ending all severe and fatal pedestrian deaths is not just going to happen overnight. We need these sorts of policies, and we need state-level support in order to get there. We're creating a model in San Francisco that other cities are looking towards across the country, and we really hope that you can help us to achieve that goal with your support. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mark Watts, representing the Transportation Authority for the County of San Francisco, urge your support for this measure. Thank you.
Next witness.
Relaying on behalf of the California Public Parking Association in strong support. Thank you.
Next witness, please. Seeing no more, we have somebody moving towards the mic? Nope, maybe? Okay, that's a head fake. So, committee members, do you have any opposition, towards the mic? 3 members, 2 minutes each for the opposition, please.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mike Carpenter on behalf of the Automobile Club of Northern California, Nevada, and Utah, and our 3.5 million Northern California members. in opposition to the bill. As you know, we advocate in support of traffic safety and motorist rights issues, and we regrettably need to oppose this bill unless it's amended because we think it falls short on both those counts. We appreciate the author's desire to make his community streets safer and more efficient, and that's why we don't oppose virtually everything in the bill, but we do strongly oppose the blocking the box provisions. We believe that unless that is amended out of the bill, this will undermine both motorists' legal rights and will diminish driver accountability and safety. First, this bill violates fundamental due process principles of equal treatment under the law and equal penalties for the same violation. The bill would create an entirely new punishment system for blocking the box violations that are recorded by cameras rather than by a law enforcement officer. Those accused of the same violation should be subject to the same criminal processes and penalties, no matter how the law is enforced. AB 1287 makes the registered owner of the vehicle responsible for paying the fine for blocking the box, creating disparate punishments depending upon how the enforcement occurs. The bill allows for shifting responsibility and liability from the driver who actually commits the moving violation to a more easy-to-target registered vehicle owner. But it is the driver and not the vehicle that is the violator, and that's why all California automated enforcement programs require driver responsibility for infractions involving a moving vehicle in order to assure that we penalize the actual driver whose conduct we seek to
So I'm
deter.
going to ask you to wind it up with one sentence, please.
One sentence is, we think this bill sets a very bad precedent for moving violations by separating accountability from the driver to the registered owner.
Next witness, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, Tim Chang for the Auto Club of Southern California. We join our sister club from the north in opposing this bill unless it's amended to remove the blocking of the box violation for all the reasons previously stated.
Any other members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the bill? Seeing none, any members of the, Ms. Baker?
I'm unable to support the bill today because I'm concerned about the change of certain violations from criminal to civil and then making just the notice of a violation prima facie evidence that it actually happened. And although I applaud you for really focusing on public safety, I just don't see how those changes, which do seem to fundamentally affect due process, will make it less likely that people will suffer an accident when there may be other ways to deal with that. So that's the provision I'm having trouble with. I just wanted to give you a chance to address it.
Certainly. Let me first start, and then I'd like to turn over to the head of our municipal transit agency. First of all, I very much appreciate the AAA's support for every other aspect of this bill. So let's just focus on the blocking the box piece. And then let me also say that this type of enforcement has been in place in our city now for 7 years. We haven't received a single complaint with regards to privacy, no issues around how this is done. Blocking the box, as you know, is a very real phenomenon that we have, and not just around Giants games or busier days, but every day of the week, we are not only creating tremendous congestion on our streets, but public safety issues when you have cars in the middle of the intersection creating gridlock that cyclists and pedestrians are trying to get around. Now, with all due respect to the AAA, there were some there was some erroneous statements in their letter. We are not establishing a violation for blocking the box that already under state law can be enforced as an infraction or a civil penalty. Enforcing it as a criminal penalty, though, as you know, as all of us know, would mean if you get charged with this, that would be a point on your record, and it's a far more onerous process than what we're talking about, which is essentially the equivalence of a parking ticket. And I want to just turn over to Mr. Riskin to see if there's anything more you'd like to add to that.
Just want to clarify that blocking the box violations already under it's the 1987 Anti-Gridlock Act can already be cited either as an infraction, which is criminal, or can be cited as a civil penalty. It's something that we do today. We recently did a pilot with parking control officers, found it to be very effective. This would just enable us to do the same, but using automated safety enforcement as opposed to having to post live bodies at intersections throughout our downtown.
And again, we're talking about proposing something that is civil, so the penalty is less. There is absolutely an appeals process, and it's a parking ticket as opposed to a point off your record.
Any other questions from committee members going forward? Mr. Chu, would you like to close?
I would respectfully ask for your aye vote.
So we do have a motion by Mr. Dodd and a second by Mr. Chu. I'm going to be supporting your bill today, Mr. Chu. While I hear the concerns of the opponents, I think there's a good argument to be made that expanded enforcement authorized by this bill, especially for block-the-box violations, can help prevent pedestrian injuries and fatalities. If we can save lives with measures such as these, then I'm willing to offer my support. Thank you so much. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is a do pass as amended to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier.
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Ashajian. Baker. Baker, no. Bloom. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu. Chu, aye. Daly. Daly, aye. Dodd. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Linder. Linder, no. Medina. Medina, aye. Melendez. Melendez, no. Nazarian. O'Donnell. O'Donnell, aye.
The bill has 8-3. We'll leave the roll open. Put it on call and leave the roll open for absent members. So let's go back to file item number 26, please. Assembly Bill 1096, members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues, and I appreciate your consideration of AB 1096, which would modernize the provisions of California law that affect electric bicycles and clarify where e-bikes can travel. And first, at the outset, I'd like to accept the amendments suggested by the committee, and again, thank the committee staff for their good work with our office. I also want to take a moment and thank Assemblymember Harper, whose AB 875 had also involved e-bikes, for joining our bill rather than pursuing a separate law.
Mr. Chu, I'd like to interrupt you for 1 second. I'm going to be passing the gavel over to Mr. Onkacho Asajian. I have to go testify in another committee.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me be brief. Most electric bikes are designed to behave exactly like regular bikes. They're just easier to pedal. But at this moment, there is a default prohibition against using these bikes on bikeways in our state. These bikes can make life easier for people of all ages and abilities, especially for those who don't own cars, people willing to commute by bike to work, or older individuals. They allow people to ride bikes longer distances for commuting and reduce traffic congestion, as 5 bikes can fit in the space that 1 car would take on the roads. This legislation would encourage the safe use of these bikes by introducing more detailed definitions for e-bikes, providing clear rules with respect to how they must be equipped and operated, and permitting local authorities to impose additional restrictions on where they may travel. And this is a law that has wide-ranging benefits for the health and wellness of residents, increasing opportunities for our seniors and people with disabilities, boosting our local economies, reducing traffic congestion and air pollution, and better using our transportation infrastructure. With that, we have a number of witnesses today. I'd like to turn it over to the head of the California Bike Coalition.
Mr. Chu, before we get to your witnesses, each will have 2 minutes or less, please. We have quite a few items ahead of us, so we'll appreciate your you're working with us. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Assembly Member. My name is Dave Snyder. I'm the Executive Director of the California Bicycle Coalition. Our mission is to enable more Californians to ride bicycles for healthier, safer, and more prosperous communities for all. Healthier, because we know just a little bit of exercise will save lives compared to none, which is what too many people get. Safer, because we know that more people on bicycles alone will make our streets safer for everyone. And more prosperous, because we know that people who ride bikes and walk spend more money at their neighborhood stores than people who drive. We also know that every dollar spent in the local economy instead of at the gas pump generates 16 times more jobs. So for those reasons, I really hope and respectfully ask that you support Assemblymember Chu's bill to clear up the regulations around e-bikes. And I don't want to mince words. Of course, e-bikes are, it doesn't take a stretch of the imagination to realize how important they are. Obviously, a lot of people who are out of shape will find themselves able to get into shape. But it's not just that. It's people with MS. They have asked us to support this bill because their disability makes it impossible for them to bike a regular bike, but they can do it with an e-bike.
Next witness, please.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, evening, Transportation Committee members. My name is Rob Kaplan, and I'm here representing Curry Technologies, a California-based electric bicycle company, and the Bicycle Product Suppliers Association. BPSA and Curry Technologies strongly support AB 1096 to update the definition of electric bicycle in the California Vehicle Code. California's Vehicle Code is outdated. Modernizing the provisions of California law that affect electric bicycles will encourage the safe use of e-bikes by introducing more detailed definitions for e-bikes, provide clear rules with respect to how they must be equipped and operated, and permit local authorities to impose additional restrictions on where they may travel. California bicycle industry generates $1.2 billion in annual revenue. Over 2 million bicycles are sold in California annually, more than cars and trucks combined. There are close to 20 companies that manufacture e-bikes or e-bike components, including some of the largest bicycle companies in the world, and almost 200 independent e-bike retailers. Clarifying the definition of and regulations around low-speed electric bicycles is critical to the expansion of the use of e-bikes by Californians and will bear immediate and positive measurable economic impact. To reiterate, California bicycle industry strongly supports AB 1096 to clarify the definition of electric motor assist bicycles and update the regulations so certain low-speed electric bicycles may be used much like regular bicycles. In closing, I'd like to invite all of you to the California Bicycle Coalition's e-bike pop-up demo right out here at the State Capitol's traffic circle on 10th Street this Wednesday, April 29th, to take one of the latest e-bike models for a spin. The event will take place from 11 to 5 p.m., and e-bikes from various manufacturers will be available to test ride on 3 different routes. Thank you for consideration.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Good evening. My name is Karen Wiener. I own and operate with my partner one of the only exclusively electric bicycle stores in the country in San Francisco. We are very bullish about electric bicycles as an alternative to cars, which are clogging our streets and creating an impossible situation in San Francisco at the moment. The lack of clear rules and definition between mopeds, electric bicycles, and bicycles at the moment create a state of confusion for the consumer, making the decision more difficult than it needs to be. It also makes it difficult for a company like mine to plan and innovate for the future, providing the support necessary to get people onto lighter forms of transportation like electric bikes. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Seeing none. Any witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, bring it back to my colleagues for questions or comments. None? Okay. Mr. Chair, would you close, please?
Colleagues, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Would the Madam Secretary call the roll?
The motion is a do pass as amended to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier. Ashajian.
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Baker. Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom. Aye. Bloom, aye. Santiago. Chu. Chu, aye. Daly. Aye. Daly, aye. Dodd. Aye. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia. Aye. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez. Kim. Linder. Aye. Linder, aye. Medina. Melendez. Nazarian. O'Donnell. Aye. O'Donnell, aye.
Your bill is out. It's 9-0. Well, we'll keep it open for the absent members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next item, please. Item number 34.
I have a final item, and again, colleagues, I appreciate your indulgence. AB 1236, which I'm authoring along with Assemblymember Lowe. This is a bill that would develop a streamlined permitting process for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations. Our state has an aggressive goal to go from 100,000 electric vehicles today to 1.5 million of these vehicles by the year 2025. To reach that goal, we need EV infrastructure that meets the demand. Our California Energy Commission has estimated that our state will need over 190,000 charging stations around California to meet this goal. Thank you. This bill, colleagues, is modeled after AB 1288, which was signed into law last year. It would lower the cost of installations, streamline permitting, and further expand the infrastructure needed to meet our statewide goals, making it cheaper for Californians to drive electric vehicles. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my joint author.
I respectfully ask for aye vote.
Witnesses in support.
My name is Abdallah Sharkawi. I work for Volta Charging, and I respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mark Aprea on behalf of ChargePoint, thanking both the authors for bringing this measure forward and urge your aye vote.
Thank you. Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Keith Dunn on behalf of the California Apartment Association, asking for your support.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Seeing none. Any witnesses in opposition, please come forward. Please proceed.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members. Jason Ryan, League California Cities. We have a oppose unless amended position. Both authors have been very willing to listen to our concerns. We are working with them. We've outlined a few of those concerns, but I'm hopeful that we'll get there. But right now we are oppose unless amended, but I think we can get there. So I appreciate their good work on this.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Mr. Chairman, members, Greg Cook, representing another California Power Agency. We are a joint powers agency consisting of 15 members, 11 of whom are cities. And in reading the analysis of the bill, one of the statements is, it is possible, however, that AB 1236 could have the unintended consequence of expediting permit processing at the expense of allowing the legal jurisdiction to conduct a careful, thorough review. We would suggest to the author, as this bill goes forward, that he consider the same thing that was in AB 2188 last year, which is that the ordinance and the consumer checklist be include the comments and considerations by the electric department in those cities that have an electric department within their jurisdiction. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, bring it back to my colleagues for questions, comments. Ms. Baker?
Just quickly, I guess my one concern, it sounds like it may be getting worked out, because I do think this is a great thing to work on, is just that it's a mandate to the local cities and counties, and perhaps that's what there's some amendments that you're working on, and so I may withhold support at the time, but I'll really look forward to an opportunity to vote on it on the floor if we're able to work those things out, so that there's more flexibility or recognition of local control.
I very much appreciate it. I just want to note that our offices have been working closely with the League of Cities to move forward through a couple of these issues. It is modeled after a bill that this committee and the Assembly passed last year, really to ensure that we're taking into account the voices of our localities. But as the good analysis in this Transportation Committee report says, a streamlined process should be put in place sooner than later, given the inefficiencies in the process currently.
Thank you. Any others? Mr. Chair, I'll share the same concerns. I'm going to support you to see it move forward, but hopefully by the time it gets to the floor, Assembly floor, you have communicated with the League of Cities, and hopefully there is a balance between your decisions. With that, we have a motion and a second. Would the Madam Secretary call the roll, please?
The motion is a due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier? Ashajian?
Aye.
Ashajian, aye. Baker? Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom? Aye. Bloom, aye. Santiago? Chu? Chu not voting. Daly? Aye. Daly, aye. Dodd? Aye. Dodd, aye. Eduardo Garcia? Aye. Eduardo Garcia, aye. Gomez? Kim? Linder? Aye. Linder, aye. Medina? Aye. Medina, aye. Melendez? Nazarian? O'Donnell? Aye. O'Donnell, aye.
9-0. Your bill is out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you. Next, which one? Mr. Pereira is here. Mr. Pereira? Which one does he have?